Ethereum's broken out. Altcoin dominance is flying a little bit, but sentiment is slowly starting to flip. But the real question that we all need to answer, and no one is answering, how far and how high can we actually go here? Today I'm going to show you kind of the risk reward on a lot of altcoins, and more importantly the entire market, if, keyword if, this does continue and it isn't just a little fluster like last time. This, however, looks a little bit more promising, but we've been here before. It can show signs of life and it could just drop overnight. And if you're riding the wave like most of us are hopefully watching these videos, hit the like button and more importantly, let me know what altcoin you're expecting to do well in the next coming months. I'm giving you a license to shill, by the way, do it. Now I want to talk a little bit about sentiment first. It isn't perfect, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of retail not here, and I understand that. Ethereum, yes, it has broken out. It has triggered a little bit of excitement. The ETF volume is doing very well. Solana's doing well now as well. Bit of a lag there. But X is getting a little bit louder. More and more predictions, more and more hopium. Please don't get caught into borrowing hopium from someone else and getting involved and over-risking in a market where it could realistically blow up in your face. We will, in this video, stick around, look at some key metrics that are looking very, very good. The fear and greed is climbing, right? The mania, though, isn't here. This is kind of the sweet spot in a way where it's starting to bubble up nicely, but nothing too berserk. So the mania is slowly returning, but it's not euphoric yet. I don't think you missed the boat if you are sitting on the sidelines, so to speak. But yeah, often you see altcoins run nicely before the euphoric stupidness appears. When you start seeing certain influencers come back to the market, the people that sell MLM products and toothpaste and shit, that's where you got problems. So it tends to begin with confidence more than chaos. So just keep your eyes peeled. This is called Ethereum. You may have heard of it and it's doing pretty damn well. We'll talk about Ethereum first because it's obvious. This is a weekly time frame. Giga weekly candles. These are one of the biggest, well, I think this is one of the biggest candles we've had in recent history, let's be honest. And it's looking good. And we need to talk about the BTC pair because this is starting to change. And I don't want to say that I marked the bottom, but I kind of did talk about this area in videos a long time ago that it could be a bottom. However, I'm not going to blow my own horn because I also said, is this also a bottom here? There was two options of bouncing, and we have bounced off here, and it is looking relatively good. But I always get cautious because, yeah, it's down a lot. Yeah, whatever, right? But ultimately, what about if it just goes here, then it just rotates back down? That's where I know it's bearish, sorry. I know people in the comments like, oh, fuck you, Ash. You're a knob. But you get the point, right? But it is looking good. It probably will correct and it probably will go higher. I do believe we're probably going to go up to like these levels more than this level personally. But if it goes up here, even better. And I know, I will talk about my stance on altcoins and alt season in a minute. I don't think we're going to get a all-time high in the BTC pair. Just hold that thought though, right? Let's talk about other things. Let's talk about Bitcoin. It's slowing down, it's chilling and relaxing a little bit. Go on to the 3-day time frame. Yeah, it's kind of stuck at these levels, which is nice. We want Bitcoin to kind of chill a little bit to allow altcoins to breathe. And Ethereum is currently leading right now, but that's usually pretty rare. So don't get too caught out in the emotions of it. But ultimately, yes, it's looking relatively good here. And I do think we are going to go higher, personal opinion, not financial advice, of course. But we need to be very, very mindful of what happens with altcoins because that is where most people are interested in. And are we going to see a relief? But as I say, hold the fort on the BTC pairs because Bitcoin dominance is dropping and has dropped the most it's probably dropped in a while. Well, granted this period, but this looks a little bit interesting. This looks very, very nice because with this situation, it's actually quicker than this, realistically. But as I say, it could only go down to here maybe and bounce back up. Bitcoin's a lot stronger than it was in previous cycles. So in my opinion, I do think this time is a little bit different, right? And I will kind of explain and go back on terms of what I'm talking about because going back to that Ethereum pair, and if we zoom out on this and we look at it, it's awful. But in my honest opinion, we are not going to go above this region. We're probably not going to go above these regions. We are still probably going to get diminished returns essentially in the BTC pair because Bitcoin's pretty strong and there is a lot of altcoins. But ultimately, we could still do the maths. We can still figure out how high do some of these altcoins go. And again, we could talk about it. USD dominance is always going to be a huge factor here. There's a lot of stable currencies in the market. And this is into the 5% now. And we are going towards that magical number around here, which is where we want to be. But we want to go lower than that. We want to go down to these levels at 3%. We want to go down to these levels at like 2.8%. That'd be amazing. But as I say, what numbers are we going to get? Well, that's the ultimate question where we need to talk about and what we are going to talk about in a minute. But going back of what I said at the start of this video, this is the total 3/BTC. Yeah, cool. If we want to look at the total 3/BTC without stable currency, this is a bit of a blueprint. Long story short, if you're confused by this chart, right, I'll just kind of explain it in more details because I think this is important. If you bought the lows down in 2019 and you took profit at these levels, you basically wanted to try and buy when it's back at these lows, right? That was kind of the point of it. And it takes a long time to do it, but you can still get destroyed by it. But ultimately, you're not buying all the way down. And then guess what? You could take profit at these levels here because that's my personal opinion. It's the same situation on every single altcoin BTC pair. This is it just in a micro scale of it in terms of ease of access. Looks like the Ethereum chart, doesn't it? Are we just going to go back up here and we're just going to create a massive slope? Potentially, yes, because the maths is the maths, isn't it? There's too many altcoins, not enough liquidity. A lot of it goes into Bitcoin. Altcoins will probably do something, but they probably won't create new all-time highs in these BTC pairs. But in the USD pairs, they might because Bitcoin is a lot more valuable. Remember, BTC and the BTC pair equals the price of your altcoin. Just remember that. So let's talk about the obvious in the room here. How high can some of these altcoins go? Now, I'll be honest, my maths isn't the strongest. I do have this calculator, so if I say numbers wrong, I do apologize, but I actually don't. When we talk about risk to reward and we're looking at low to high metrics, but there's two elements of the room that becomes a little bit confusing. Bitcoin pair and the BTC price. So you got to imagine a couple of things here. What if Bitcoin's 300K, for example, right? Just think of that in your head. Where does the BTC pairs go? Well, if the BTC pairs go well, you got to do the maths with that, which makes it a lot harder to do. Most people will probably be happy with the USD pairs doing well if Bitcoin does well and their altcoins do well with it. But as I said before, that hidden trapdoor is if your altcoins do crap and the BTC pairs go down, therefore dominance is not actually dropping enough. That's where the big kind of gray area is, right? So when we talk about the likes of what if Ethereum goes to the 618 levels, it's nearly going to double in price. Right. At current price levels, if Bitcoin remains the same price, you're expecting Ethereum to be roughly around $7,500, $8,000. But as I say, the multiple is, what about if Bitcoin goes a bit higher and it still does that? You're looking at a 10K plus Ethereum. For example, that's just a really round, obvious example. But if you look at the likes of Solana as well, Solana nearly hit the buy zones of these perfectly levels, could go up back and retest these levels from the 2024 high. It's not a massive jump, but versus Ethereum, it's a lot less to go in a bull market, if that makes sense, because it could actually go even higher, potentially, because this is a lot newer. It's been released at a different time point, and also the mania, the meme coin season could be very, very different. You could see a Solana doing better multiples in the short term because it is a smaller asset in terms of market capitalization as well. So keep your eye on stuff like that. But let's look at some older ones like Cardano, which looks like a dog's dinner. Because even if I zoom out, it's the same situation. We've had highs, we've had a lower high. Where do we go here? Well, this is the ultimate question. You can do this for any single altcoin, really. Do a Fibonacci from low to the from the high to the low, and look at where you can go. Now, personally, I would be like tickle pink if I was a Cardano holder going to like 2,700 Satoshis, for example, right? Because ultimately, from today's current prices, that is like a ridiculous sum, 258%, right? That's good. But what if Bitcoin goes higher? You can see the maths, it's already mathing, right? You could probably going to see a $5, $6 Cardano pretty damn drastically quick if that happens. So some big altcoins will do well, but ultimately you could argue they have underperformed. If you bought Cardano at 2021 levels, much higher in sats, you could actually be down in Bitcoin. So just be mindful. But how high can they go? It ultimately depends on this chart and these charts, which is going to be interesting. So if we're talking, as I said before, in my overall opinion, and you probably remember, is we're probably not going to see it go in terms of new all-time highs, in terms of BTC pair, but USD pairs for some stuff, yeah, they could probably do 5 to 10x, depending on what they are, but it may not be the mania we had in the previous cycle, which I think will upset people because the likes of Cardano in the last cycle did 100x, for example, right? And other assets like that did very, very well. So yeah, if you're late here, don't be chasing the green candles, wait for the dips. But ultimately, I don't think we're late. The real money is made at these lows. And at the end of the day, if you are buying a good asset that you like and you enjoy like doing the research on it, you might be all right because ultimately BTC is high. BTC dominance is still high. There's still a lot of gains to kind of, track back. But as I say, I think people might be disappointed if they come late and they're expecting like 100x's, for example. That's my personal thoughts on it. By the way, if you are interested in trading or if you just want to get 20% back on all your purchases, check out Blowfin. There's no KYC, open to the UK as well. I don't know how long for, but jump in before they start shutting all exchanges because you know what it's like in the UK, it's crap. Link below. Big welcome bonus as well. Now, I want to kind of give you my personal thoughts and my personal plan of what I'm doing. If you've watched the channel and if you do watch the channel, please do subscribe. I will tell you what my overall thought on what the sleeper ecosystem might be. And it may just be a bit obvious. Realistically, just look at the screen. It's BTC, right? So my personal opinion is, I think for me, the risk to reward is in another ecosystem, which I will come on to. I'm trading altcoins because it's quite, at the minute, it's easy. It's nice. My link trade, for example, is running very, very well, just to give you an idea. We're motoring quite nicely. I've taken 50% off the table here. And this is what sort of cycle we're in. It will pull back. There'll be other entries. There'll be other situations. And I'm not really the biggest trader in the world. I just play around with it and have fun with it. But with risk on, with risk off, and as I argued before, with stable currency dominance dropping, it's a risk on situation. When it rises, it's risk off. So you can go long or short based off those parameters. So you can pick a basket of altcoins or whatever and trade them without being a bag holder and not getting worried. And that will give you that mindset to kind of be in at the right time and be out at the right time, or be at the right side of the trade, so to speak, right? Watch the dominance of multiple things like a hawk. You need to. But ultimately, as I say, it's entirely up to you. Everyone's different. Patreon gives you an idea of what I'm doing in terms of trades and, more importantly, what I'm doing in my journal. So there's a link below, 50% off your first month. Check it out if you want to. But I want to talk about the ecosystem that I think is a sleeper, but there's a bit of alpha in what I'm going to say because many ecosystems within the ecosystems might actually be a sleeper if you're in them. Now, big financial disclaimer, I don't care what you do, but I'm going to give you my perspective. I believe the Bitcoin ecosystem is a sleeper in terms of tokenization, in terms of ordinals right now, currently. And as I say, you can go on Solana, you can go on Ethereum, you can even go on Cardano, even XRP, meme coins, whatever. They all have mini cyclical crazy seasons where their OGs, their whales, pump the shit out of things, right? And that is where I think the biggest money will be made, is in those individual niche markets, right? So for me, it's Bitcoin. That's for me. I want to be on chain. I want to trade my Satoshis for Satoshis to create more Bitcoin. Likewise with Solana on Phantom Wallet, if you've got Sol, you put your Sol on Jupiter or even on the Phantom Wallet and you get more Sol, right? Exactly the same situation. Same with Ethereum if you use a MetaMask like a fucking granddad. But ultimately, for me, this market is starting to wake up now, which is interesting. And this has happened before. And a lot of people have lost out on these in the past, but ultimately they did 10x it in like 30 days or maybe even longer. And going back to those charts before, when I talk about the likes of these BTC pairs in big solid assets, yeah, you can make maybe a 2 or 3x in a bull market, but in those you can make them in a week, which is scary in the right environment, as I say. So this is why I talk about it being a potential sleeper, because no one really knows how to do this. They're starting to get listed on Kraken. They're starting to get listed on other exchanges, starting to get talked about in mainstream. And I think all of a sudden people will go, I want the next dog. I want the next magic internet money, whatever. And it will fly off. Already we're starting to see ridiculous volumes going onto ordinals. People are sweeping. But as I say, other ecosystems will do the exact same thing at certain points. You just need to be aware of it. So yeah, keep your eye on an ecosystem. If you like it, go for it, ride it until the heat drops. So yeah, this run isn't really silly yet. It's just bubbling away, it's just starting. But as I say, don't be blindly buying everything, because ultimately you need to rotate smartly. Use structure and don't get greedy. Depends on you though, everyone's different, as I know. But yeah, comment below what your ecosystem is and let me know what you're doing. Be good to know. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe.